the number one thing I've heard today, there will be no recording in the KRTMC. I've heard that loud and clear.
Part of the TMC in Spokane, we had the FBI try and ask to use the cameras for surveillance. And we said, no, short of a federal court order, which you can't trump. We're not going to turn the cameras to a parking lot. We're not going to turn a camera to an apartment complex. To the point you can do lockouts, both virtual lockouts and hard lockouts, so those cameras couldn't turn there even if they wanted to.
All right.
Excuse me.
Okay, so again, my name is George Jenner, and I'm with iteris Inc. iteris is primarily what is called ITS, Intelligent Transportation Systems. We are a transportation firm, as the name implies, and we've been around for quite a bit. We're one of the bigger consulting firms in the nation. My specialty is in communications, in video, in networks in particular. And then one of the things that I love to do, and why I'm involved in particular with this project, is I do lead for iteris all of the traffic management center design and deployment. So I heard some very good concerns, and I hope I can address some of them. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to alleviate all of the concerns, but at least I'd like to start the discussion and give you some feedback on what I heard. And I appreciate, and I plan on going through this. I have read similar things without a doubt. So with that, and I need to make one more change here. Duplicate, there we go. And that should be, now I'm not going to have the problem you had. Okay, so what Glenn has asked me to do is to present to you, in part, our project, but also address some of the concerns, if you will, that I heard this morning, as well as give you an idea of what's being planned. So hopefully I can do that, and then I want to be able to distinguish what a TMC is from let's say a surveillance center or a security center, because that's a distinction that should be identified. So I want to give you what a TMC is, what it does, and then what benefits. So I'm going to give you an outline of all of that, and hopefully we can clarify a little bit more. So we are, as Glenn mentioned, we are doing what's called the System Engineering Plan for the I'm going to get these acronyms correct here, but KRTMC, Kootenai County Regional TMC. And I won't say that again, so forgive me if I just truncate it to TMC from here on out. But we are doing the System Engineering Plan, which is going to develop what's called the concept of operation, what's also provides the requirements documents, and so on. All of the documents that are needed by FHWA, what they require for funding, for example, as well as what you're going to need in order to implement this, the design for this TMC. So what is a TMC? First and foremost, it's a standalone, centralized location, typically centralized, and there are other versions of TMC. There's what they call virtual TMCs. We've got one that, you know, it's in a cubicle in someone's office. So there are all sorts of variations or sizes, if you will, but basically it's a centralized location for observing and responding to incidents or events, typically on the freeway or arterial network. So that's the basics of that. It is deployed typically in a standalone private network. In other words, everything in terms of communications happens within a domain. We do not go outside that domain. In other words, I'm not on the internet. Okay, I've got to go through a firewall, a gateway, to get to the internet. I am completely self-contained in a TMC network. That is how what are called, well, traffic management centers are typically deployed. A lot of them don't even have connections to the internet. So that's one thing to keep in mind, and I wanted to, that's what's in the term by private network. It is a self-contained, it's not connected to anything else. Events that are handled through a TMC, typically any special events, you name it, a marathon, 4th of July type things, you name it. Those are the events that are handled through a TMC. And when I say handled, it's typically by predefined sequences of operations, if you will, operational sequences that the staff will use. There's rarely do you have anything that is done on the fly, let's say. So as I mentioned, response strategies that are already developed ahead of time, that's typically how a TMC is going to operate. When is it useful? Fast-growing community, check for Kootenai County. Multiple jurisdictions working together, check for Kootenai County. Limited options for redistributing traffic, check. And I'm going to have a check for all of these, so I won't bother saying it anymore. But these are all points that are happening here. You may be small in terms of what you're thinking right now, but obviously it's growing. And all of these that I've listed right here are issues that you all are dealing with today. These are all checks for where a TMC will help you. So in terms of the benefits to a community, there's a lot of technology that's used for a TMC. There's a lot of cameras for video detection. I don't know if you've seen cameras. The cameras that are pointing down, they look like a cylindrical that are up by the lights and so on. What those are doing are, and the lady and the gentleman you also talked about recognition, video recognition. Without a doubt, that type of technology is being used. It's being used right now. I noticed at the corner of, across the way here. You've got video technology being used along 95, for example. The technology that's being used for that is what is called video detection. You paint a zone, virtual zone in a video, and there's an algorithm in hardware that can tell whether there is a car inside that zone or not. So the discussions that I was hearing this morning, without a doubt, that technology is being used. So I want to make that clear. The video itself is what determines whether I've got a car in a lane or not. Do I have one car, 2, 3, 4, and so on? You paint these images. So that's the technology out on the road. That interfaces your controller, and depending on how many cars there and so on, that is what you're doing to use that, or that is how you're using that video. Okay, so that's just one form. Okay, how does this benefit? So number one, saving lives. I mean, we're improving the response time to an emergency. That's how we that's how we can improve by saving. It's a life-saving thing. So that's one benefit. We're able to act and react a lot faster. We can either wait to get a report from somebody on the phone, or we can have a center that is monitoring things like that. If a staff member sees something going on, he can then call the appropriate agencies, or they might be in the room with them. That's how a TMC would work and benefit in that. Saving time, we're going to plan different detours, which facilitates the tours that you're going to have. Saving money, obviously. Anytime we're saving time, we're saving money. We're talking about a lot of freight that goes through this area. if we can keep traffic moving, we're going to improve that. So those are the benefits. So what does a TMC do? And you can see on the bottom right there, that's actually one from one of our TMCs in College Station, Texas. So we support arterial and freeway and arterial maintenance operations. We inform agencies of public incidents and when there's a revised traffic pattern. It enhances interagency, so ISP, State Comm, EMS, and so on. All of these folks, by having that interaction in a center, improves all of the things that I talked about earlier. Incident management, obviously, and then it allows for real-time decision options. You currently have Idaho 511. If we can improve the data that goes into Idaho 511, your constituents can have better information to make decisions about travel. I won't read the KCAP vision. Well, yeah, I will. So the Kootenai TMC, KTMC, purpose is to improve the quality of life for residents, travelers, and those conducting business in Kootenai County region through shared approach to better surface transportation. TMC's mission is to lead the advances in technology and multi-agency collaboration that improve mobility, reliability, and safety in the regional transportation network. That's a lot of words, it's tough to say. So that's a TMC, okay? Let's talk about I want to talk to your concerns. What is it? What is a TMC not? And I'm going to show you some pictures after this slide also that hopefully addresses some of this. So I heard the issues. I agree with you. This guy right here, significantly worse than anything that is being done here, though. So I want to talk about what we don't do. And these are, you've got folks that are in here, that have concerns, and I'm happy to see that because you're going to drive what these folks do in terms of policies and procedures, okay? Because in the end, I agree 100%. The technology exists to do what you're talking about. Again, though, it's even worse right here. They've got my face scanned already. They know what I look like. If I was, and I guarantee you Google's selling this, and I guarantee you Apple is selling this, and so on and so on. Okay? So I know the concerns. Now, what does a TMC do? Or rather, let's talk about what they don't do in terms of the TMC itself. Policies and procedures. You're here to make sure that those policies and procedures are done according to what you want, okay? I'm here as the person who's doing the design. The number one thing I've heard today, there will be no recording in the KRTMC. I've heard that loud and clear. I have agencies and I have TMCs that I've worked with and clients, zero recording. I have agencies that have 10, whatever number of terabytes worth of recording. That is a policy thing. That is something that you all will have to manage. Because, I forget the words that Glenn used earlier, the bottom line is, I wish I could say no, but I can't say no because the technology exists, okay? How you implement that technology is completely up to you though. Like I said, I have agencies that have zero recording, and I have agencies that record up to a week, and then what happens is it just records over itself. So it's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do with your system. So let's talk about some of the don'ts that I've been at this for 20 years with Iteris, and before Iteris, I was at it with other folks as well. So that I've never seen, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I agree with you, ma'am. It probably does somewhere. I'm telling you, or what I'm saying is, I've never seen it where we have an external agency tied to a TMC. In fact, I've seen the opposite. It's a completely closed system, not even tied to corporate IT sometimes, which, you know, it's a little tough sometimes. There's no collection of personal information. What you see on these screens right here, those are security systems. Notice what you're seeing on here. You're seeing bodies. You're seeing people. It's not what you see, and I'm going to show you that here in a second, but you're seeing facial recognition. That is true of a surveillance room, okay? Without a doubt, that technology exists. That video exists, without a doubt. We don't store metadata or related information. For this TMC, like I said, that bullet coming up, I've heard it loud and clear. There will be no recording or of any type of video. So that's easy. You don't have a large disk for recording, and you have a server that does nothing more than reads the cameras from out in the field. Done. Where the recording settings on the software, you say 0. So that's the easy part. We don't use cameras for personal surveillance. There's no facial recognition. However, I have to address what was being discussed earlier, and I already did. Video detection is being used because we want to spot what's on a blacktop. We want to know that there's a car there or not. We also use radar for that, as well as loops. Those are the technologies that are being used. The reason we don't like using loops, that pavement always, I went down 95 right here, and I noticed they were doing pavement work. Those things rip up loops. That's why they don't use them, and they like to use video detection. So again, video detection paints a zone, and we watch cars coming through those zones to see, counts and so on. We don't release sensitive information because, that's not what's being done here. And then as far as working with federal agencies, again, I can only tell you my experience. I don't know of any TMC that I've worked with where that's happening. Does it happen? Will it happen? I can't tell you yes or no on that one. So that's what is not, ma'am?
You're funded by a federal agency, are you not? This whole traffic center is federally funded.
Right.
It's funded by a
Yes.
federal agency.
Yes.
So they're paying for something, they will have access to it.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
So we signed a grant agreement, just like for your roads. Your roads are paid for primarily federal aid funds. They have a contract that says what you do, how you'll maintain things for the useful life of it. I've never seen a contract, when we did the TMC in Spokane, where the federal agency, Federal Highways in this case, says, but we have access to anything that's there. Those are not in the agreements. We probably wouldn't even sign an agreement if it said it. So the contracts are for our fiduciary contracts, not use and possession contracts. So that's the big difference. It's a money.
The abuse of data would not involve written legal contracts.
Oh, I'm not going to get into a debate or abuse is everywhere. I think we all know that.
Yes.
So what you do is what George said. When I was over at part of the TMC in Spokane, we had the FBI try and ask to use the cameras for surveillance. And we said, no, short of a federal court order, which you can't trump a federal court order, we're not going to turn the cameras to a parking lot. We're not going to turn a camera to an apartment complex, to the point you can do lockouts, both virtual lockouts and hard lockouts, so those cameras couldn't turn there even if they wanted to. So their focus is on the roads, nothing else. Other federal agencies have enough equipment out there already. They don't need a TMC to do it for them.
And the closed nature of a TMC is what, in technical terms, is what's going to provide that blocking. The firewall is going to provide that blocking. Now, again, you mentioned, I'll call them nefarious motives. I don't know what to tell you about that. Sure. They can come in and commandeer. I don't know. I'm not a legal person, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I can only tell you what I've seen in my 20 years of experience, though, and I haven't seen it. I'm even surprised by what Glenn is saying, that they even contacted you for that. So, can it exist? Can it happen? I can't. I'm not going to sit here and say no. I can't. But what it entails is walking into a room or back door somehow, walking into a room and commandeering something. I got a feeling it takes quite a bit to do that, even if I'm, So that's all I can tell you about that. And if you're not recording, I mean, short of them coming in and commandeering the camera, or the room, let's say, to take over all of the cameras, sure, they can come in and they can start using those cameras, but again, I guess a warrant, I'm not a legal person, so I'm not going to even try, but they can come in with the guns and say, we're taking this over. I don't know. At that point, then, they're going to have to sit there and look at something, because again, we're not recording, and I heard that loud and clear here. So,
but isn't that what Spokane said initially too?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that what Spokane said initially too? Now they're holding it for 30 days and we don't know where that data is being stored, but it's outside. Google, somewhere.
So what I can tell you is that the top policy, where we began with policies, the Spokane TMC is operated by a board who sets the policies up for the operations of that TMC. So you would have to ask the TMC board in Spokane, did they change their policies to allow that to occur?
And like I said earlier, this is really good that folks like yourself are here, because these are the folks that are going to be in charge of that center. You're telling them in no uncertain terms, we don't want recording here. So I guess,
But I think it means that there's no guarantee that there won't be recordings.
They could add.
Oh,
they,
sure.
they could add capabilities. You just said it. They could add capabilities. I can't.
And that's what we want to impress on the commission, is
And-
that
and-
there is no guarantee.
Right.
Well, that's right.
But you're here to make that that point. And like I said, I know I heard it as one of the the person responsible for the design. I can tell you that the requirements will have no recording. We're not going to require a drive where we're recording video and so on. Those are things that we can put into the requirements without a doubt.
But it can change,
Ma'am, I can't.
right? If
Yeah.
we just admit it can change.
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. I'm not going to dispute with you on that, without a doubt.
I have a question. So, say there's an accident and the police want to use the pictures from the surveillance or from the cameras in the accident report. If there's no recording, do we have something to give them?
No.
No. So,
Short of somebody snapping a picture in front of a monitor, no. If there's no recording, you cannot go backwards. And again, I think I've heard that one right now, so.
We need to keep this conversation
Oh.
to the board.
Sure.
I mean, I appreciate
I'm sorry.
the discussion but this is a board workshop, and you're here to observe the board workshop. And I appreciate the energy, but we also need to.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, I want to make sure I address that then. For the board members, is there anything that I should?
Mr.
Ma'am?
Chair,
No, I think We understand that there's concern,
Mhm.
and I think at a later time, we can put it on the agenda to have that discussion. But as for today, I think we just need to carry on with our workshop.
Okay.
We only got a certain amount of time here,
Sure.
so I think we need to keep going.
Okay. So what do typical TMCs look like? So these are some of the ones that we've done in the past here. I wish I had updated this with more current ones, but I didn't. I apologize. What I want you to see, so these are city level TMCs, city size TMCs. We do a lot of work with cities. This is more of a county level, so it's a little bit bigger, which is probably equivalent to Ada County. We did theirs back in 2013. It's being expanded now. So back around 2013, they were a lot smaller, kind of like here. I live in Meridian, right next to Ada County, and it was a lot smaller. It grew quick. That's what's going on here. So when you think of a traffic management center, I would say be careful making the mistakes that they made. They're right now in the process of upgrading that entire center to a lot bigger room. So keep those things in mind. But these are city level TMCs that you'll see here. And again, what I want to point out to you, what you see is you see traffic. You see a blacktop a lot of times. You see traffic. That's what's being monitored in these TMCs. The software that we're displaying on there, that's your traffic signal system, for example. We're keeping track of what's up, what's down, what the operation on those are. And that's what you see throughout all of these images. And I mean, that's what you would see in a traffic management center in comparison to the previous screen that I showed you. So who could run this? Could be run by multiple jurisdictional agencies, so a dedicated TMC staff, single agency like a city and so on. We've done that as well, or contractor base. Iteris does it for agencies. We've done it in Georgia, Tampa, Texas, Washington, California. We're not the only ones. There are plenty of other folks as well that do it. So the key element that I will point out for you, for the board especially, what happens when you don't maintain your own systems, what I have learned through the years, there are those TMCs that the operators know what's going on, and there are those TMCs that somebody set up once, and then other contractors came in. What you find, and I'm saying this as a contractor that does this as well, you lose that knowledge. So if you have the staff or can dedicate the staff, you gain a lot more. Your TMC is used a lot more. Ada County for me is the best example. They have dedicated staff, and those folks, I work with them all the time. They know what they're doing technically. I've gone through some training for them and so on, and those folks know what they're doing. They really use their TMC. So dedicated staff, I believe, is a lot better solution. So as part of our work that we're doing for you and developing the requirements, the concept of operations, I apologize about the eye test here. I didn't, you don't need to read all of this. I just wanted to show you what we're doing right now and just give you a high-level view of what the ConOps, the concept of operations, is saying. It's a document that we are about to deliver to you for this project. So you'll have full operational control of PTZ cameras. All of those things are user-based. User rights-based. So the idea behind that is observe, detect issues, debris, incidents, animal strikes on freeway jumpers, things like that. That's what CCTV is for. You're going to have access to the DMS and VMS signs on freeway. Those systems are used to provide the public with information. None of the happy birthday mom type of stuff. Everything is pre-determined as far as the messages that you can put on there. So all of those are predetermined. It's a matter of, depending on the incident, what to put in there. We're going to be involved with incident management. We're going to be augmenting what is available to Idaho 511 as far as data. We're going to have access to existing RWIS systems, road weather information systems that you have right now. There's a state comm that you guys have up here. Same with down south. There will be coordination with these folks. Those are the folks that actually put the messages up on the signs. There will be an actual terminal for state comm in this TMC. Winter operations, it'd be a nice thing to know if there are, snow plows on the road. If we could get GPS, know where those snow plows are, you can put that out to your constituents, let them know what's happening in real time. Construction and maintenance activities, anything that's planned or anything that's happening current, that needs to happen because of maintenance or construction, those things could be put out to the public, as well as the interagency coordination that can happen. With that, what I'll do is I'll give you a quick demonstration of what the center that's being considered. Essentially, it's a 6,300 approximately square foot facility, about 70 by 90. We did a site analysis for this that's been submitted to the board, and we determined the best site for it was going to be at Ramsey and Mary, or otherwise known as Northwestern and Golf Course, is what I've learned. So this is the Kootenai, at least the concepts. There will be a lot more to be developed here in the future, but these are the concepts as to where it's at and what it will look like. So it's an empty lot right now, as you can see. We're looked at it in terms of what's available for power and so on. This is the facility that we're proposing. So this is the traffic management center itself. 4 bodies are shown right now. And then this is a multi-use area for emergency situations, things like that. And then there are 5 offices, plus bathrooms, plus equipment rooms and so on the other side. Yes, sir.
6,300 was full build out.
Full build out, yes. Thank you. Glenn points out a good thing. Again, this is full term, long term. It does not need to have 4 stations. It does not need to have 4 giant monitors and so on. You're going to start small, but you will start to grow very fast. That's one thing to keep in mind. So we just made sure that we have developed or put something together here that's going to be able to support you today plus 10 years from now. So that was one of the things that we were looking at. We believe this center will support that and more, actually. So in terms of a size. So that's the center itself. Again, and all of this we're still working on. We're putting together the requirements for all of this, but we just wanted to give you the conceptual visual.
Yeah, in these pictures, I see a lot of hardware there, but I don't see a lot of screens. And I thought the idea was to have a lot of screens at different intersections all over the place, and how we see the whole concept here, but how functionally does it actually work? I mean, is there somebody there that can actually change lights all around wherever there's lights? Is there going to be signage on roads that are letting people know what's going on? What's the functionality of this as far as the operation to accomplish smoother traffic flow? And then one other thing I want to mention too is I understand it is for the 4 northern counties, not just Kootenai County, is that correct?
I'm not familiar with the four-node, I apologize, I'm not familiar with that.
So the answer to that question is yes and maybe. It is definitely for Kootenai County. There have been discussions with ITD of expanding it to the 4 northern counties because there are times where there's no coverage up in, say, Sandpoint, where this could provide coverage to Sandpoint during times when there's no one there available. Similarly, there's been discussions with Moscow or Lewiston, you know, whether or not we could provide coverage for them when they wouldn't have coverage. But at this point, it's Kootenai County centric. That's what it's being designed for. But the capability is it could serve other areas who are in need. But it would have to again be on a private network, you know, private fiber line to those areas. In the case of like the Spokane TMC, it's for Spokane County. WashDOT also uses it for basically the eastern region, especially during the winter for snow plowing, because that way the snow plows who are in remote areas have the ability to call into somebody, and they have the GPS to see where they're at. It's more of a safety and security issue for them, especially during snow plowing season, to have that dispatching coverage. So capabilities there, whether it would ever be implemented in the 4 northern counties, I think that would be round 2 of the conversation if this were to be established.
And you mentioned about number of videos and so on. It's important to note what you're looking at here, those aren't discrete inputs from the field. That's actually done through software. This grid right here in this bottom corner, for example, that could be 4x4. So that could be 16 total videos right there. It all depends. The days of, if you're familiar with it, point-to-point video, those days are gone. Everything is done through software now. These walls that you're looking at here, I can have 64 cameras on one side, 64 on another, so 128 total cameras running on the wall if that's what you had.
But that wall is probably actually only 2 or 3 or 4 actual
monitors.
screens.
Correct. If
They split the screen to
Right.
get multiple views.
So what you're looking at here is actually a 1, 2, 3, 4 columns by 2. So that's 8 total monitors right there. ACHD is 5 by 2, for example. Now they're going to a 8 by 2 in the center that they're building today. Why? Because what FHWA, for example, their guidelines are the average person, operator, can really pay attention to 24 videos at a time in front of them. Beyond that, it's just noise. To really pay attention, 24 is about the best that they can do. So what you end up doing is you end up dividing the wall up as an operation. You end up dividing the wall per users, or you cycle through multiple, say 4x4s or whatever that is, whatever that number is. You cycle through them. The bottom line on it though is if you have 180 video cameras, you can have 180 video cameras being viewed inside the TMC. It is no longer, you don't have to have a camera and a monitor. All of it, everything that you see here is software. And then as far as what you can do with it, like you mentioned, that is what that is showing right there in the middle, or for that matter on top, that's tactics on top, which is a signal system software. So if they wanted to change timing on something, or if they wanted to, whatever operation they want to do, that is available to them. And that's only on the wall for display. Typically what happens is folks will be working on their own desktops. The walls are for when you're doing this, or things that are obvious and you want to have that up in on top to be able to view. So does that answer or address what you
Let me address the
Sure.
traffic signal. And Marvin's here, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. So one of the biggest complaints we get from the general public is these traffic signals suck. Just straight up. Their timing is bad. I have to stop at every signal. Why's it taking so long? And there's multiple answers to this, and I don't want to give away the total answer. But the reality is they need to be better timed, not only as a corridor, but interconnected with cross streets better. And what you have now are independent systems operating independently of each other. And within this TMC, using software, we can integrate the City of Coeur d'Alene's traffic signal system, the Post Falls traffic signal system, ITD's traffic signal system, and put them on a common platform from a signal timing standpoint. And then you can actually have preset plans like the evening drive time plan, which sets up the signals to address the flow of traffic going in a particular direction. Or you can have one for Ironman, or you can have one for the county fair, so that the signals are then set to be able to address that surge of traffic that comes through in the evening or in the morning and things like that. Because as it stands now, and I think a good example of it, we'll get into this a little bit later in the day, you have got US 95, which carries a boatload of traffic, and you have some east-west arterials that are 5-lane, medium, let's say Kathleen, which is in Prairie are two of the hot ones. With that much capacity and with that much traffic, trying to jam all that traffic through in 60 seconds is not going to happen. So then you have to start opening up to 120 seconds, so 2 minutes for a cycle time on the lights. But other signals, like up at Hanley or somewhere else, they don't have that same issue. They don't need that same time. So you've got a mishmash of needs along the corridor. The signal timing plan are able to address that. But right now, independently, you're going to drive something crazy trying to match up all the different systems and capacity needs. It's the side streets that really, from an ITD standpoint, booger up 95 because you're having to provide more access to 95 because of the cross streets. That a fair representation?
Don't we have that capability now?
No.
No?
No, especially between jurisdictions. There's no interconnection between jurisdictions. I think the closest right now is the City of Coeur d'Alene manages the signals at Northwest Boulevard interchange.
So I guess I have a question. So what you're talking about there is a lot less than what we're talking about here, right? Coordination of signals can be done through the contractor, a little piece of software, right? Without all of the cameras and all of this coordination stuff.
So it's a subset, when he was going through the functions of a TMC,
Yeah.
traffic signal coordination is a subset of what a TMC would typically do. Hiring a contractor to do it for you is not a good solution, because when the contractor goes bankrupt or the person who was working for that contractor leaves, your institutional knowledge just went out the door.
I know, I guess, but we could do something that doesn't require a contractor that's a lot smaller scale than this, just if that's really what we're
That's
trying
not
to
the,
address.
that's not the primary reason to address it. It's, again, a subset of about 7 different subsets.
The other thing too is, for example, that contractor is working at one intersection. What does he see? What's his visibility?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting we just implement a system to coordinate traffic signals if that's the real problem, rather than
Well,
this full-fledged
Yeah.
management center
Yeah.
with cameras and, you know what I mean, like, and screens and everything. So I guess I'm just, if that's the problem we're trying to address, this seems like a real, and maybe Marvin, you can, I know he really wants this. And so I would be curious.
I guess I
What's
don't know
your
how,
guys' perspective?
I don't know how to put it in words. We're running a mini traffic management center upstairs in our building now. All these cameras and the worry and all that kind of stuff, the cameras are there now. I mean, I don't think this proposal is to add more, it's just to use inventory of what's in the system now and how to manage it. So we've had cameras on the signals, cameras in the median for a decade now to help. It's just we can't effectively manage it. So right now, a person sits and watches a wall, and like Glenn and everyone's saying, we get a call from the public, says, I'm not getting calls in the right-hand turn bay, I'm not getting calls in the left. So a person goes in, lights that up, especially in the wintertime, because traffic's not following lane lines, that kind of stuff. We can't help manage EMS if they have to close down 95, say, and then all of a sudden we're getting backed up traffic in the turn base. People need to go somewhere. We can't U-turn them around. We can't give them bigger time. And then not only that, we don't know what we're dumping on the local system because we have no access to the big cameras on Government Way and stuff or help their system out. So we're very hesitant about controlling our traffic onto a local system because we don't know how the local system can handle it, or we can't control and give longer throughs or turns to get them back around whatever is happening. So we're very clumsy about managing the corridor because we can't manage it outside our facility. We don't know what's going on in someone else. We can't view the cameras, we can't. So we're having a difficult time of trying to keep mobility through the corridor, and our person only could dedicate about 5% of their time because we don't have a dedicated person. There's just two people sitting at the desk, happen to see the monitor, happen to see the interstate getting congested. We can't even deploy our own maintenance people out in time for animal hits or something. The cars are starting to move over, and we need to get out there to get lanes cleared. It's a little reactive versus being a little bit proactive on stuff. And yeah, we've been pushing it because we think if we could combine all entities into a bigger picture, we could service the users of the road, even pedestrians, far better than what we're doing now. And I mean, I think Glenn has got it prepared to grow, and we're modeled after Ada County because we're there where they made these decisions to go into a full-time management center. And along with incident response on the interstate, we're at where Boise was when they turned on that type of assistance to the traveling public. So we've seen it happen in our sister cities and stuff. So, and we could do a lot better with the functionality of getting mobility through, especially when there happens to be little glitches in the system. Like I said, animals or there's a little fender bender and it takes the police 20 minutes to get that cleared up. We could help manage that better than what we're doing now. And we just stood up a team about intelligent corridors and KMPOs on that team. And it's to identify the message boards and technology to go through our 511 app to warn people live, it looks like we got a blockage here. And then text could come through on that system to help manage people through the corridor so they're just not stuck and they don't know why and how long.
And I appreciate your perspective. I think, if we're just talking about managing traffic signals, we don't need something like this. But what you're suggesting is we need something a lot more than that.
It's much broader.
Yeah, and snow plows, and it could just grow to better mobility and reliability for the public in the inform the public how they're going to get through these congested corridors.
It's a real-time, the real-time part of it is a huge difference. To have a contractor do something, realize his results, takes a lot longer than having a person who is dedicated to doing whatever that is with those traffic signals, okay? He can see it in real time. Anything that he affects, anything that he changes, he can see it in real time now.
And you talk about state common stuff. They know who's online, even ITD. Who's on ISP, ITD, who's actually checked in to the system and where they're at. We got real-time stuff that's clumsy in the trucks, cell phones and stuff. But it's more the person and they're in signed areas. So our maintenance people have signed areas. So does the county. They got signed areas. And they check in and check out. And so there's a lot of contact information that goes on. they could control people and dedicate the problem to the cell. I'm clumsy at discussing this because it'd be nice to have. I mean, I just see so much benefit in my mind I can't communicate out to
No, I think
How
you've done a
to
great job
move
of
people
communicating
around.
what you envision it have to do.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
know your guys' is concerned, we do not record. That, I mean, that would be a nightmare on that. So like I said, we've been doing this for about 10 years now. Did multi-monitor technology, like he's saying, that's even on our CAD system. It's no longer 3 monitors. You get 1 monitor and then the software says, I'll let you see your Excel document, your Word document, and your CAD document, or maybe I want 2 CAD documents. So it's just efficiently how to use a panel. Because right now we got 3 big TVs up. We're probably monitoring 16 at once.
So a question, go.
Well, so it kind of sounds to me though, based on this discussion, that maybe just a joint powers agreement and a couple more people working out of that office would almost accomplish what we're talking about doing today.
I think it's much more sophisticated. Ada County was, I think, created a little bit with ITD's strong partnership, and they had a dedicated facility because we don't got the people to do it. I mean, the traffic people are trying to do more traffic related stuff, and studies and turn bays, lakes, and watching where we need stuff. So we don't got a person dedicated in our room. If you were to monitor more, it just needs to be a dedicated cell to do that. I believe that's we're not big enough to manage the system. I mean, we're not even big enough to manage what we got. We don't even really manage it. We just get the phone call, they're able to take the camera and say, yep, that's the turn bays are backed out on the system. I got to do a call to that signal and get it cleared. For some reason, is it a glitch? Do I need to send electricians out? Then there's other actions that come out of that discovery, but we cannot manage it at the scale that we're trying to even just see how we're performing versus manage the system.
So under the joint powers, not everybody has to be part of the joint powers agency. It's just, it would be those that have an interest in working collaboratively on the development of the system. Most likely, the early stages would be ITD, Pacific Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, because quite honestly, they have the most signals, and that's where the most traffic is. So.
Bruce had a question.
Yes. I'm just curious if Iteris has any kind of before and after metrics with these traffic management centers, and do you have like a white paper? Because I think that kind of stuff would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I don't think we have one specifically for traffic management centers, because we deal in ITS. I would imagine
ITS.
Intelligent Transportation Systems, of which a TMC is, a TMC just is the place where all of these systems are co-located, if you were, or centralized. So I'm sure we have that, and I can definitely, I'll check back with Glenn and get that for you. Whether it's one specific to a traffic management center, I don't know that we have it.
Yeah, I see the benefits of this, and I think, what Marvin was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that there's just only certain geographies that you have some influence over. And so you're trying to bring all these different geographies together.
Yes.
Because the traffic is going through all of them.
Right.
And so to understand exactly the problem that we're solving, how a TMC really can fit within a metropolitan area and make things better for commuters with even some metrics, I think would really help.
That's what we're working on with the facilities and operations plan.
Okay.
Part of that, the facilities and operations plan, which we all agree is a benefit cost analysis. So interestingly, the US DOT has put together the best benefit cost analysis guidance for discretionary grant programs. And it was just published in January of this year, so they've updated the costs.
Is that in here?
At the very back, it's the title page, and then you're gonna steal my thunder. I kind of gave it away.
Sorry.
But anyway, on the back page of the cover page, I printed what the 2023 value of travel time savings, whether you're a pedestrian, you're individual in your own car, or you're a business, where one of them that I thought was interesting was locomotive engineering, all-purpose business, personal travel. To give you a sense, we'll talk a little bit about the order of magnitude that we're talking about. But the benefit cost analysis takes into account the individual components of a TMC, how it's deployed. They use our regional travel demand model that everybody uses to see what the benefits of clearing an incident, of letting people know in advance, redistribution of traffic in the expense of the incident. That kind of data then comes into the benefit cost analysis compared to, and that looks at initial capital as well as the care and feeding, and then the recapitalization costs over a longer period of time. So everybody sees up front, yes, it's going to cost this much to do. This is how much the operations in terms of FTEs, because we're probably talking three FTE. But since it would involve federal funds, and because Idaho is a land, more of a land, public land state, and our local match is low, we pay 7.3 cents on the dollar as a local entity for these type of competitive areas. And then the care and feeding you would put into a net present value and fund it through that. So, anyway, that's kind of where we're at. But I agree with you 100%. There is that data.
I have a question. Now, we also have some traffic cams out, like on 4th of July pass, where
Right.
people can access on the internet. Would something like this also be hooked up to the internet where people could observe it?
They can. It is typically a look, don't touch. We can go through the firewall and publish it on 511 or whatever.
That I know of, 511, who's ITV? 511 does not do any real-time video, first of all. They do snapshots,
Right.
and that's it. So the snapshots, yes, that would be available if that is a camera that's so chosen to, go to the website, for example. But that exists today. Up and down 95, you've got camera. I can show you
Snapshot.
on Idaho 511 the snapshots that exist. So that would be something that would go into play and available from the center if more cameras are added in.
And again, that's a policy question.
Right.
That's a policy that the board would have to entertain. In Spokane, you can go on the srtmc.org website and you can click on a camera and you can see streaming video. It's not stored, but you can see in real time what's going on. And if you're headed to Spokane about 4:30 in the evening and you want to get on there and say, I'm not taking on that because it's back that 5 miles. That makes the motorist more informed about making a different choice.
Yeah, you just mentioned something. To me, this is kind of being sold as kind of a dumb system. Basically, you just see the cars, you see bodies, you don't see facial, you don't see license plates. But then you just mentioned intelligent transportation systems. To me, that kind of corresponds with AI or something. So it just kind of, to me, it doesn't match up.
The answer is yes. Some form of AI, and I caution using the word AI because an algorithm is AI. I mean, in the end, an algorithm, and that's just software, okay? That's a set of rules for a computer to follow to do, causation result type of thing, okay? That's AI. Okay, now AI that you're speaking of is self-learning, and that's the one everybody's concerned with. No, we don't have anything like that. At least that George Jenner knows about. I can honestly sit here and say I do not know of any of that. Now, are we looking at video and interpolating, whether there's a car there, for example? Without a doubt, we're doing that. The systems that are out in the field today that the ITD is using are doing that. They're counting cars. They're looking at, is there a car here? Do I need to change the lights? Do I need to start my count to change that light? because there's a vehicle there. That exists. That's been around for 20 plus years. So that type of stuff exists. Intelligent learning, guys, I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise. I can tell you that, the systems that I've been involved with, no. And those are policies that you all will implement.
So I'd like to suggest that the technology being used is not dumb,
Correct.
but it's not super intelligent.
I'll just throw it out there, we would like the technology to start making better decisions, like how pissed off do you guys get when you approach and you're all stopped and the car having to clear itself automatically?
Yeah.
You're sitting there waiting for a right, the right came, you still went through all the rigmarole to stop you. Or the pedestrian did his own sneak across, and now there's no reason to hold the lights in max timing for a pedestrian at a rate of speed across a gazillion lanes of traffic. That's what we would like to see happen, that it can make a decision based on what it knows at that time. And we're kind of getting there, but that's the efficiencies we can get out of technology a little bit, is do we have to stop a platoon of traffic for someone that's not there?
Let me give you a couple of good examples. When I-90 was down by, everybody know where the weigh in motion is on I-90 on the eastbound lane. So there was a work zone there, there was an accident, they were backed up to almost Spokane Street on the eastbound heading towards Kootenai. And nobody was responding, nobody was out there addressing the situation. I mean, it was backing up pretty fast. And I'm sitting there, because it's what I do, I'm looking, and there's people turning around in the median in 80 mile an hour oncoming traffic. If with an incident management center, you would have been able to see, look, there's a problem there, cars are stopped. Hey, ITD, you need an incident management team out there like now. And ISP should probably go out there and keep the people from jumping through the lane and almost getting tagged by motorists coming the other direction who are not expecting a van or a travel pickup and a travel trailer turning onto their lane. So you see that. Another one, a good one, is the apartment complex on 95, across 95 from Fred Meyer, where they've decided, elderly people have decided they're gonna walk across 95 with no lights around, across the median, going over between a barrier, and then going over to Fred Meyer, and then walking back. Nobody's gonna see that until someone gets tagged and they're going at 10 o'clock at night, or 9 o'clock, whatever. An incident management center can say, we're seeing a lot of people walking across at that location. So the engineering people can look at how can we mitigate this situation so we don't have people getting killed, and some motorist who's not expecting it is traumatized by rolling over somebody who just walked in front of them. We often don't think about the motorist who hit somebody because they were someplace they weren't supposed to be. The incident management center catches that kind of stuff on a real-time basis. And I think Marvin can attest, it happens a lot.
So to respond to that, you're saying that the people that'll be working in the center will see that on one of the screens. They'll be, what if they're in the bathroom or something and somebody walks? I mean, you're talking about somebody walking a crosswalk, and is someone going to see that and then right away change that light or something? I mean,
No.
It seems like it's too fast of a turnover to me to be practical or to actually work. And then you mentioned Ada County. I mean, the way I understand it, there's just a couple of people that work in the Ada County one, and it's attached to a highway district building. So, it does.
With Ada County, because I've been there plenty of times, I can tell you they keep a radio. That radio's tied to ISP and it's tied to State Com. Now, if they're in the bathroom, I got There's nothing I can do. Okay, they missed it, all right? But they have bodies sitting, and when they see something happen, because they also look at the freeways, they're not just looking at the roads. When they see something happen, that's the first call that goes out, and they have it through a radio. Now, we're talking about co-locating as well as having communication between these centers as well, or these agencies here. So take your pick. How do you want to do your operations? That's up to you. You want to co-locate them? Well, guess what? Now we've got the people that need to make those decisions in one room as well. You have the capability here. At a minimum, you're going to have what Ada County has. Okay, let's do a radio. Hey, I just saw something. Staycom may not see it, or even ISP or local police, whatever. They may not. Whereas the management center will see it, because that's their job. They're monitoring. I can't do anything about the bathroom though.
And it's not, if you see like the walkers crossing 95 to go to Fred Meyer, it's not to solve that incident.
Yeah.
It's to put the local jurisdictions and ITD in awareness mode. You have an unsafe situation that is on a recurring basis.
Yeah.
That you can start analyzing to see how you can address it. Otherwise, it just goes unnoticed. So it's more than just incident at the moment. Once you've been there and your eyes get used to looking at 24 cameras, you see things change that are minute, that are relatively small. Like you see if somebody loses something out of the back of their pickup. You see something sliding across the road, or things like that. So those are the things you're trying to clear quickly because of the travel time savings and the safety issues associated with that object being out there. But there's that secondary ability to address problems and bring to the TMC board issues that need to be looked at from an engineering and design standpoint.
The one thing we do try to watch is elk north of Bakel Road on 95. Every year, they have a time they cross. Not that we can do a lot about it, but we can start putting variable message signs out that says, because we have that time change in that same deal, so it light darkens them up in the morning when they were getting used to cross at a certain light and cars see them. We do this, boom, time change, nighttime, people can't see them. So we try to watch for that timing and put out some variable, and put it on that 511, hey, watch for elk in this location.
So responding to that, do we have those signs around Ada County?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
all over.
Horseshoe Bend's got one that's
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. Let me give one more that I might help you also. So from Marvin's perspective, now on 95, he's responsible for the signals on 95. Let's say he says, you know what, I'm getting a lot of complaints from this one intersection. What can I do? Or I'm getting complaints from the perpendicular ones to it. Okay. What can I do? So he implements things are going to run through some cycle. Okay, he implements a different timing pattern on Monday. What can he do today? He can sit there and get all the complaints that are going to come in because he made some error, or they don't like the timing that was implemented. Okay, so he can wait to hear all of those complaints, or he can start watching for himself down a corridor, set up his cameras, an entire corridor. What's it look like? Okay. Oh boy, look at that backup. I blew something. I got to change it. So, I mean, it's just an example, but that's what these centers will facilitate for you. And I've seen that. I've seen exactly what I just, mentioned right there, where they made some timing changes and they started seeing, things happen in it from a cross-jurisdictional level. I've seen it where you have the DOT, and then you have that signal over here for the city. Okay, gosh, if we could just time these better together, now I don't have that conflict anymore. You're talking about co-locating folks now, folks that are from city and from ITD, let's say. at a minimum, if not co-locating, at least cooperating with each other and the systems being able to talk to each other. So that's where you're gonna see improvements as well. Whereas everybody is operating on an island before, now we're trying to cooperate with each other. And the center facilitates that. Don't know if that helped or not, but.
So right now, the local jurisdictions do a pretty good job of working collaboratively. I know the highway districts do and the local cities do. There are some areas that don't have that same mentality, and some have implemented the Hate Your Neighbor program, where they dump traffic on everybody else and to make their streets slower, nicer. And at TMC, you're managing it holistically. You're not having it, as you put it, you're doing broader geographic area. It's not as disjointed.
And I brought this picture up for a reason. So this is College Station, Texas. That is looking at the entire area for College Station. Okay, now what you're going to be looking at on your screens is not only, Coeur d'Alene, but you should be able to see Post Falls and so on. Now you're looking at it, from a more global view. In real time, exactly. What is actually happening? So that's the goal here. You're not siloed. Again, this is a city, but they also have the DOT, TxDOT, that they're dealing with. And that would be akin to what you have here, except you got it, across cities and counties, really, is what's being